What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. We finally made it. We made it to the end of the week. I don't know about you, but God, I feel like I crawled to the end of the week, but I am excited. It was pretty productive. And we got an awesome guest for you today, someone else who I love. We had him on the show last time. Great insights, really understands the pulse of what's going on in the industry. Has been in it a long time. Wasim over at Chain Site. What is up, my brother? Talk to me.
So, how are you guys? Been busy and, a lot of events ongoing. Consensus in Hong Kong. Next week is in Denver. So, preparing for all those and meeting the community, meeting the projects that we work with. And it's very excited to be here.
Okay. What's been new since you were last, since I think it was what, like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ago or something we were all on together, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 3 weeks ago. And during this 3 weeks was massively, we came up with a bunch of ideas within the team, just, kind of, I'll give some alpha later on, but kind of you'll see something upcoming next week.
Okay.
It's like what happened this Tuesday, it feels like 2 weeks ago at this point. It's the days are this long when you're in Web3. Sometimes you don't even know when it's today, when it's tomorrow. Like the hustle man over here doesn't sleep sometimes. Hey, hello.
What is going on? Hold on, let me set him up. Get him on going on
Some
here.
people don't sleep. My sleep is like fractured. Fractured into two parts. Sometimes I sleep like 4 hours now, then 3 hours later to make a full night's of sleep.
Oh, so yeah, it's bad.
One day becomes 2 days in this situation.
I have no idea what that is anymore, but if you could figure out what sleep is and you can capture it in a pill, please send it to me because that is what I need. What is going on? How do you pronounce your name? Is it Saya or Saya?
Saya, sort of English.
Okay, yeah. Cool. What's up, Saya? How you doing, man?
Good. Just pretty busy, right? ACS campaign started, and then we have to just prepare everything. Just pretty busy, but it's good. All good.
It's madness. Yo, so how's everything going? Tell everybody. Actually, let's start. Get an introduction. You could tell everybody about yourself, who you represent, and what you guys been up to.
Yeah, thanks so much. Just thanks for having me. I'm Saya from Nemo Finance, founder of Nemo Finance. We are providing LST and LRT, liquid staking token, the liquid staking token for Aster and Ethereum. So actually, what we are providing is Aster side, just providing the on top of that staking. That's maybe just someone familiar with that. Right now, why we created is they just Aster team and the Sonium team is creating trying to bring Aster to Sonium, right? Mm-hmm. And then just if there's a DApp staking, user can 20% something just APR, but people, like a Sonium team is trying to bridge Aster to Sonium, right? And then just user cannot get the APR, 20% APR, they have to miss it. So that's why we created the NS Aster, just user holding the NS Aster and utilizing NS Aster on Sonium, and then while they are getting the APR, 18% APR. That's why we created. Then just ACS started, user can 18% average APR, 1.1 ACS multiplier for NS Aster. And they can utilize on DeFi, Velodrome, QuickSwap, or Kyosake. Everyone they can do it. And then also we are providing point as well. That's the NS Aster. NREIT, we just partnered with the Ethereum, EtherBuy. Actually, and then our backend is EtherBuy, and then we are providing our point and the EtherBuy's point, multiplier point. And then NREIT is, utilized on Sonium as well.
Interesting. Yeah. We're gonna have a. Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Yeah, for those uninitiated, what's liquid staking?
Liquid staking is for capital efficiency. I mean, it's derivative. Like just in case of the Lido was the first one. Like what they done is if you stake Ethereum on POS, proof of stake, you cannot utilize the Ethereum, right? But what Lido provided was user can stake Ethereum and then in exchange, they can get the ST ETH, and then they can utilize on DEX or DEX or lending or just anywhere. So that is, it's all about capital efficiency, and it's a it's a derivative.
Okay, cool, good stuff. Yeah, I was gonna say, well, today, I'm glad that you guys are doing good. The ACS campaign is going on. For those that don't know, essentially, A-Star is running a campaign with Sonium. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, but we can touch on it briefly. Essentially, the idea is to promote the usage of A-Star within the Sonium ecosystem, because A-Star has kind of been adopted as an ecosystem token. For those that don't know, Sonium doesn't have its own native token, which is pretty cool because it gives a lot of the users that were over there through all the years. For those that don't know, the parent of Star, is one of the, if not the biggest chain on the parachain for Polkadot. And essentially, it used to be Plasm, if I recall correctly. And then when it migrated over, now we have those user base, which is there, also combining with the Sony's user base. The idea of entertainment, pushing IP, and all those things really are important, because that's really the direction this is all going in, which we'll talk about a lot today, particularly the branding and IP and AI and DeFi and data, and how all this really correlates, how it comes together, and what it's going to look like, moving forward in the space. But that being said, let me check in with you too. What's going on, Noodle? How you been?
Yeah, not been bad. Just keep it busy. Obviously, you already know what we're trying to do. With sort of getting these gaming streams now, building on the community power that we've luckily got after so many years. Although I only came in recently, so I'm saying we very loosely there.
No, you've been crushing it, man. You've been crushing it. So for those that don't know, Noodle is leading with Sleazy, doing like game nights and all types of cool stuff. Like, the guy is the man. You guys, they work hard, man. They work hard to make the magic happen for everybody. That being said, so
we'll do a game night today. We haven't announced it yet. We'll announce as soon as we end the stream. But it will be like the first experimental night. We'll get our community involved. For those who don't know, it's called Lethal Company. We can explain the rules later. But essentially, we're just
by the way, guys, this is going to be like something new for me as well. And it's crazy because, like, they haven't even given me. I'm supposed to be the guy, like, chief public servant over here, and even I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what the hell is going on.
Out.
So I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we'll figure out. I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, I get hoard out. So it's just like, tell me where to show up. And then, like, they have my calendar and they book me for meetings all day. And I'm just like, okay, here I am. Yeah. So it's one of those things where you know how it goes. But yeah.
And we have like a couple of ambassadors as well who are into streaming. So yeah, we'll take this and okay, look, wait a week from now. I will get like, okay, I don't want to be like overconfident, but I'll take like at least 3 partners on board with us.
I think it will be. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident it'll kick off. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we're already planning it with a couple. I just need one more. It will be 3, and I will accomplish my mission for next week to have like 3 partners play with us on the gaming night. So yeah, look forward to it. And we'll do giveaways as well. So look forward to it.
Yeah, that is going to be dope. That's going to be pretty cool. So I was going to say, I wanted to talk to you guys today and just, get some thoughts on everything that's been going on, especially with AI and the IP thing and the branding thing. It's coming full circle. We saw what happened with DeepSeek. We see where the industry is moving towards at this point, right? So for those that don't know, for the longest time, obviously OpenAI was kind of more running the game. DeepSeek came along, forced the market down a little bit, consolidated just to find what that bottom was. Accurate pricing. Honestly, it was NFTs all over again. That's exactly what it was, to be quite honest with you. I think a lot of people more worried about this being a hype train thing. What's the sustainability behind all this? Is AI really AI, or is it more algorithmic? And I think we're starting to see that more in the direction that it's moving in. And first up, Wasim, I wanted you to talk about this as well, because this is something big that you guys are going to be dealing with moving forward as a data company. How do you think, you guys fall in line with all this, and where do you see this moving from your perspective?
Sure. So when it comes to AI and everything, I mean, it's basically, numbers, codes, and everything, that's on your laptop, basically. And when we look into AI itself, I think everyone's going to be using it, right? Everyone's using it. I don't know which ones you use, DeepSeek.
Yeah, not gonna.
I use a bunch of everything, man. Actually, that's a great one. I use like even Claude, like everything, you name it. If it looks cool and if it works, I'll try it out just to see if it works, and then from there.
I use like 5 AI services when I make videos. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, by the time it came out, I think 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we can't leave that, right? We're always in our mind, we basically have control short, like just get into that, even checking grammar checking, video contents, everything AI, even Notion pages now AI. So we're in an era of, where human beings being stupid, AI is going to take over. That's something going to change. But when it comes to data itself, I think even data itself can be controlled by AIs, in terms of, for example, you've got industry like DeFi, right? Or DeFi AI, already in the market. You've got layer one of AI narratives already. I think Zero Gravity Labs are doing that. They've raised 325 mil, more than other ecosystem itself. So even though there's a narrative to it, it depends on how you utilize the data itself and prompting the AI to do what you think of. That's definitely something considered as AI agents. That's definitely considered as a normal daily life AI. Even our human interaction algorithm created by AIs, that's something that's going to be just a normal life from now on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. The one thing that I think AI is, and from at least how I've always seen it, is let's look back at like 2021, right? I want to take a little bit back in the time machine for those that remember, and even earlier than that, for those that were in this like 2018. When NFTs first came about, it was great, right? It gave people something unique. It was all about ownership, right? That really was the primary aspect of that. Was the driver. People, artists, no matter who they were able to monetize their art, whatever it is that they were doing. And what was the internet? Let's go back even a little further now. The internet was all about accessibility, right? And I think what's interesting is that idea of accessibility has evolved over time. And I think that this AI is it's not only just a necessary, it was an inevitable step and leap, if that, in human evolution. Because if you look at it, like, you used to have to go to a library when I was growing up, right? And now you have all the data. It went from there being not enough data. People used to show, like, how can I find information? You had to go to good schools or get a mentor or professors, whatever it might have been. And then next thing you know, you can Google something and you immediately have it. Then it went from Web 2, where you have social media era, the internet age. We were internet natives. We were able to go online and get everything we need. And then technology started advancing, right? NVIDIA, Moore's Law, people started pushing the space further and further. But what happened? I think something unique happened. And that is the moment we're going to look back in history. And I think historians are really going to look at it and dig deep into it. When we pivoted, it almost is like we kind of like retracted in a way. Like we went forward, but we kind of got, not just went back, but kind of got stuck. We were running in circles for a little while, I feel. And what's interesting about AI is it's expedited again, or kickstarted again, the idea of accessibility. Because like when I want to build characters in gaming or anything like that, you have to understand Blender, you have to understand meshes and rigging and how all these things work, right? If I want to do graphic design, you have to understand how all this works. Imagine a world, and this is where I predict that we're going. Imagine a future where the only limitations are the imagination. Where literally, right now the limitations are what? Limitations are your skills, and skills take what? Time to learn. And time is finite, right? Like we only have so much of it on this planet. So I think what AI does is it opens up possibilities, especially in IP, which we'll talk about today, in DeFi, incredible, possibilities for people to create their own unique experiences with their imagination. And that is going to be a future where there is no more barriers. There is no more having to figure out, like, how do I do this? I need to hire this for this. We're all going to be, masters of our own universe, so to speak. But Saya, I'm curious how you feel about this, as far as, you can relate it to DeFi and you can relate it to just your general experience. Because I know you've been building in this space for some time and you have a lot of insight on this as well.
Yeah, obviously just the AI and DeFi will be connected in the later, right? Just, AI agent is really getting popularity right now.
Yeah.
Especially the Vault or just the parameter change was even just DeFi governance, it's needed. Actually, in the Vault case, there are just protocols creating AI agent. And what's going on here is, Vault is, like created by people, and they have to change parameter. Let's just DeFi or DeFi is just Uniswap, you have to change the range, right? Or just any concentrated liquidity. It's not human work, right? It's a manual work that they have to do, and we cannot work 24 hours. Sometimes just we get the impound interest or loss or anything, so it's impossible to do it. We have to just give this work to AI agent, and it's actually happening right now. And then just the Vault is a lot of board is created by people and like operated by people. It's not gonna happen. Maybe just I guess end of this year. By end of this year, it's all just a board or it's manual work will be replaced by AI agent.
Yeah.
And parameter stuff, just the permissionless DeFi is coming off, like a more for Euler. It's only, all permissionless, and everyone just can create, pool and just, utilizing AI agent. That's, what I'm thinking right now. Obviously, just, AI will replace the human work. Yeah, that's it. I'm thinking right now, and then just
how do you think the Web3 from the DEX side of it? How do you see DEXs evolving? Like, think about it, like, because it's so funny because I always used to think early days before I really understood a lot of how the mechanics of the back end automated market makers worked and stuff. I mean, it all felt like AI to me anyway. But when we realized it was more algorithmically driven and how it all works, how do you think that changes the landscape currently from a DeFi perspective as far as like things like DEXs are concerned? What type of things do you think will be automated? What type of things do you think are going to kind of maybe add new value propositions to the experience for users? Like, because I think of things with AI now, like I know everybody gets flashy and they think of robotics and they think of crazy things that are like more outlandish. But nowadays, when I think of AI, I'm thinking of things like as simple as, and nobody thinks about this too often, things like how Netflix has a For You page and it's all they use AI to basically feed you what it is that you're looking for based upon your interactions with it. Like, I mean, can you imagine? Like, people don't think because it doesn't sound grand, but those little things is what really is a game changer for businesses and experiences. Are there any little things like that you predict in the DeFi sector that will change because of AI?
Yeah, it's obviously. Just all the stuff. Just if user utilize AI agent, maybe just they can create some strategy, right? They can use it, and they just only prompt engineering. Just they can. Let's say just if you have a like treasury, let's say protocol case, you want to see tokens amount, right? Just they can just set the parameter, and they just automatically just the parameter AI agent work, and then that is this is all about the like UX. How can I call it? This is all about the like automation. We can say automation.
Yeah.
With efficiency, they can do it. That's because like let's say just DEX case. It's quite difficult to handle it every day, 24 hours. Because it's quickly changing just range, and it's impossible to do it. Of course, ALM automates the liquidity market maker. It's quite its parameter is changed by people. Human. It's quite difficult to change quickly. Aave is also same. It takes 30 days to like list a new token, and they cannot change the parameter quickly. But if we use like AI agent for parameter, it's super easy. LTV or just any parameter, they can change it. AI agent change it immediately. If it works. So I think just AI and DeFi will create more freedom for just the like operation for just like protocol side and the user side. That's gonna happen. That's my opinion.
No, that's great. I think it's a great feedback. Honestly, I think you're right. I think what's going to end up happening is, like you said, I guess the narrative of the day so far has been like accessibility. And I think if people have the ability to automate some of those processes and procedures, it'll give them more time to focus on other things throughout Web3. And I think one of the biggest issues, I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but I feel like one of the biggest issues has been, it's almost like everything has been so financially driven that the space hasn't really found its footing yet, right? Like, I feel like when NFTs came around, a lot of major companies got burnt. And from them getting burnt, it kind of made them step away for a minute. And that's why I get excited when I see things like Sony and Sonium going on, because from that perspective, it's like AI has changed the game again. It's made these businesses realize, wait a minute, there's something here. There's something here, and it's basically allowing them to jump in, because not only do we see Sonium leading the way with IP stuff and making sure that people have their IP rights protected, which you can enforce on chain and still retain, mind you, the decentralized nature, still retain the essence of what it is all about in the culture, which I think is important, and a lot of people miss that mark. So having all these new IPs and these new developers and having DeFi being more efficient, I think that's important, and where AI will definitely shine. that the data part is really crucial. And I don't think a lot of people pay attention to that because it's the infrastructure of how all this is powered. Wasim, this is something I know that you guys are focusing on heavy. Like, how do you see this playing a part in the functionality of data for you guys, for example? What are some ways that you guys are looking to incorporate AI?
Sure. I think when we're speaking with chain, like within the chain side, AI narrative hasn't been the top, priority for us right now. This is because there needs to be a kind of the base layer of it that you actually need to create, and then you put AI on top of it. So it's basically building, the how you build the street, right? And to do that, I think whenever you want to kind of build the data side of it, you need to understand what kind of data would protocols would be needing, the chains would be needing, how is the chain coded by, all these factors are needed. For example, I would give if I can give a good example, like story protocol, which is a layer one, another chain on it, focusing on IPs, right? All the IP story usually comes from the agent side, right? Which is a good thing because they've got this base of IP and they have done monetization through businesses itself. However, when it comes to these kind of, say, story protocol, you can actually say that we're IP layer one kind of narrative itself. However, when you look into the coding, is it really possible to actually bring in the off-chain data to on-chain? It's something that people don't really understand, and it's very difficult, to be honest, right? So it will rely not on the protocol side, but on the chain side to actually kind of, give that twitch, and that becomes the kind of playing politics between the corporate who has the IP versus the chains, not the dApp side. So that's something that we've got to understand, of course, as well as I think, it's all about business after all, but it depends on if we want to bring AI into the data narrative. It's still going to take a little bit more time for people to understand, or I would say people even do not need to understand, right? That you don't need to see it. It's just a demand, and it's just we geeks and the nerds who likes these kind of stuff just build it and just provide that infrastructure to anyone. So
it's like everyone's using banks, but nobody knows. Well, almost nobody knows how they actually work, right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, we don't need to know how ATM works. Like, no, majority of people don't even know what ATM means. Like, the acronym,
honestly,
like auto teller machine or something like that.
Yeah, even I don't. I was about to say, you would have got me. Don't set me up, man. You would have thrown me all the way under the bus. They'd be like, yo, do you know this? I would be like, no. But like, here's the thing, though, man. This is the one thing that I think is, I get a little tired of it, and I hear it, and now I'm happy that we're finally getting away from it. Like, people don't really need to hear the buzzword stuff. I think everybody is over the buzzword stuff, right? I think people are at the point where they're like, listen, man, they just want something that they can connect with. Like, I was talking about it this week. It's tiring, man. Like, you're working at this all the time. You're always having ads thrown in your face. Like, there's always somebody trying to sell you something. And it's almost become a cliche, but it's so ironic that, like, branding an IP is something that's been around forever. It's so simple. That's so straightforward. Is becoming the forefront of everything. Because ultimately everything is consolidating down to everyone's own unique user experience, right? Like, we're all looking, individuality is important, expression is important. That's why when you were talking about like what's going on APAC Reach, there's so much IP, you know what I mean? You see some of the stuff that's coming out of their animes. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It gives people a way to escape reality for a while. And, you also want to make sure that you can monetize that. But the other side that I think is crucial that you touched on, that I think we definitely should cover a little bit more, is the business aspect of that. Why were a lot of these companies more worried to jump into, Web3? What was their fear of coming into this, especially when it comes to things like IP and coming on chain? Because I don't think people realize that although decentralization is great, I think when anything's new, people get caught up in the passion and the excitement of it. And too much of anything is a bad thing. Like decentralization is not the all know all be all. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's people out here that think I'm speaking blasphemy. It is important. It's very, very important. It's crucial. You need to have it there, but it's just like a check and balance in any system, right? It's all about balancing the system. And in this particular case, I do think that you need it there, whether it's to serve as a governance thing, whether it's to serve as like proof of humanity and AI, which is important. You know, there's a multitude of different ways that you can approach this. But I don't think people realize if a big brand's going to come in that spent all this time on building this IP and, you know, hundreds of years, there's brands that have literally hundreds, if not thousands of years worth of IP. And it's like, you know, if somebody comes in and just steals it or takes that and, you know, it's completely open source. Well, people don't think about the flip side of that, which is how do you run a sustainable organization, right? Like there's always trade-offs. Don't get me wrong. But if you're building an organization and this is something you're pushing forward with, it's like anything. When you build a house, you have a tool belt, right? You need tools. And I think that really is what blockchain is. Like none of us talked about, like, you know, for instance, the Swift system. Nobody talks about the Swift system. Nobody is like, oh, here's how it works. Here's how finance works. Here's how central banking works. Like, you know what I mean? It's not something that we talk about. It's just something that is. And I think what companies are realizing now, which, you know, a lot of the bigger companies, they already know, because Web 2 is what? Consumers. Is that, you know, it really matters the experience that you sell to your user base, right? It's like, you know, when you come into that, what are you trying to accomplish? Because there's a million other things that possibly do the exact same thing as you. And that's what I'm seeing in Web3, why I'm excited for it to get back to a point where, you know, there's these new fresh IPs, there's bigger organizations coming in where people are collaborating with them. What do you think are some of the things, Saya, that stopped a lot of Web2 companies from coming into Web3? What are some things you think are stopping these bigger brands from coming in? And what do you think will lure some of these bigger brands back again?
It's thanks so nice. Yeah, it's a very nice question. I mean, just, you know, obviously Sonium is trying to just bring more company, especially company to Sonium. I mean, just, you know, because it's a Sony, they based on Web2 company. What made them stop to just coming to like blockchain is, I think it's just, you know, it's my opinion. Its all product must be on top of DeFi, because, you know, think about the like poly market or virtual or any, just, you know, any consumer application getting popularity is on top of DeFi. So given that, you know, I think just, you know, Web 2, it's quite difficult to understand DeFi. I mean, just DEX or lending, it's quite difficult, right? It's quite to understand, and then quite difficult to understand. And then implementing DeFi on consumer application takes time. But, you know, I think, you know, I'm just, you know, optimistic about it. I mean, just people are realizing just the DeFi was just crypto is utilized in real world. This is Swift case. It's the same, because Swift is the one important thing. It's just the biggest thing is the blockchains. You know, why blockchain is used is the like transaction without trust, right? So Swift is, you know, we have to trust. You know, we have to trust Swift company, but, you know, blockchain case, you know, we don't need to do it. Like transaction is the like transaction happen without any trust. That is the important stuff. And then once it is, let's say, just, you know, like blockchain replace Swift, later stages of people utilize it, and then people understand gradually about DeFi. And I think just, you know, after sometimes the AI agent happens, I think they don't need to, they can utilize it without knowing it. And then just, you know, consumer application is coming. That's good.
No, that's great. So Noodle, what do you think will bring more people, more Web2 companies? For instance, I know, you know, you're in college, you're dealing with marketing. This is like a big thing for you. You're kind of seeing this type of stuff, especially working with real world companies all the time. What do you think is going to bring some of these brands or companies into the space? Like, for example, like what brought you into it? Because I know once upon a time you weren't really a native to this, and you were kind of in, like I said, in between both worlds. So,
well, I think, when Web 2 companies are concerned, I think it's because Web 3, I mean, we know now there's more stability in it than there was, but I feel like there's still a bit of stigma sort of around the idea of Web3, and especially cryptocurrency and tokenomics, with all the, you know, you see all the things coming out of America. I speak about this at this point almost every day now, where it's like you're seeing all these sort of, you know, these big scams, these rug pulls and stuff like that. And I feel like especially for not just Web 2 companies, like big Web 2 companies, but even general consumers, seeing this sort of ongoings that are going on in the space right now, it can kind of cause a little bit of nerves, a little bit of tension. And I think it's a bit, it's not an easy sort of pathway as well for a Web 2 company to come onto Web 3. It's a bit of a risk, I'd say, especially in the space. So I think that's why we're sort of not seeing like all the companies gradually shift over. We know we will at one point, but as of right now, I think that's sort of the main reason why is there's still this sort of stigma around Web3.
So you're thinking security will be the answer to that? You're thinking that, like, what do you think possible solutions? Like, let's think on a fundamental level. Like, if we were to really bring it to basic, we don't have to get deep and esoteric. On a simple level, what is it? Is it just this? Is it the simplicity of not having to just log in with your email and not having to worry about what a wallet even is? Will a wallet even exist anymore? Because I'm not even sure that is even a thing someday. Like, I almost feel like that won't even be a thing anymore. But that's for a whole nother topic. Do you think it's just something as simple as security? Like, what do you think that deciding factor might be? Is it just the usability of the technology, having to go on transactions, doing away with that? What do you think it is, that one thing or an event that could bring on those people?
I'd say when Web3 figures out a very straightforward sort of user journey. Do you get what I mean? So now, if we're talking right now, obviously sign-ups, some people have to sign NDAs, other companies, they ask you for, like a lot of people don't even know what a wallet,
people of that. Don't understand that, man.
Crypto keys, all of that. And everyone's just like, there's so much information. And every project here, like with me, I've signed countless NDAs, loads of keys, and it's just like trying to keep track of it all now. It's a bit like,
it's a trust thing too. It's a trust
thing. Yeah. I had a friend actually ring me up the other day and been like, I've just lost the 12-word password for my MetaMask account. Can I get in? And my answer was like, I don't know, because that's a big problem. Like, it's a lot of information you need to remember and keep. So I think that's why once we have like a really straightforward user journey, like you said, Chris, when it was like, just sign up with your email, that you don't have to worry about wallets and that's probably when we'll see the biggest shift.
I agree. I want to talk about bringing off-chain data on-chain. Wasim, you said something that really resonated with me. I think the fact of the matter is that there is a disconnect from the real world at this point, right? I think that we are clearly in a fishbowl. Like, if you can't see that, I say this all the time. Like, you know what I mean? If you dip a fishbowl in the ocean and you're inside the bowl, you don't know it's glass, right? You just look around and you see a big wide ocean. So sometimes you got to swim up, and that's not as easy as people think, especially when you get caught up in your day-to-day habits and life. It gets away from you. It really does. So bringing off-chain data, on the chain, like, what does that look like? Like, let's walk through that journey. What would that look like? What are some of the applications? Like, how do you envision that?
Yeah, and the people from the outside of the fishbowl only see the fish, which is the BTC.
Yeah.
All right. So when bringing off-chain data to on-chain,
what are the difficulties of that? Yeah, like walk me through what are the difficulties.
So here's something that people should understand and probably, kind of understand more in depth when it comes to storing data in a storage, right? A lot of, I would say 80%, 90% of the projects are actually using Web 2 data source as a storage.
They are. Oh, I know they are. Yeah. They're using like Mongo databases and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, barely anyone is using IPFS. That's not very. That's not a very useful.
We're still using that. We're still using that, so I'm not going to deny to it. However, when it comes to bringing off-chain data to on-chain, it does cost quite a lot, right? And the providers are very limited who does that and provide data to RWAs, DeFis, and all this, like the game players around the ecosystem. However, it's the data shouldn't be really expensive about it, right? It's basically all the numerical numbers that's stored. The key function in blockchain is that the blockchain itself cannot store much data as compared to Web 2 data because of servers, because of all these factors. There's a limitation to it, and that's basically blocking what blockchain should be, as a blockchain, as well as when we're triggering the keywords like on-chain data itself. So players within the data space, they do tons of they do earn a lot of revenues out of it, but the cost is also very high to maintain that.
How do you feel about, have you ever heard, someone, I remember when they first came out, I thought they were a little ahead of their time. I think they probably might still be. Do you remember Arweave?
Yeah, Arweave, yeah.
They're like, what they're doing with Blockweave, I think is incredible. I think that
Sure.
I think solving that crucial point of DeFi, which is data store. Like, a lot of people don't like storing data is a problem. Like, not only, let alone, let's talk about transactions and speed and just things being bloated and weighed down in general. But like, that to me is something that's important. Like, I don't know how you feel about that, but stuff like that.
So you're right. So you've got like Filecoin, Arweave, Internet Computers, all those guys who are trying to build decentralization storage itself. However, because no one's pretty much using it, people have to go into
why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because I think the first thing is because of the data storage, the limitation itself. So if you're comparing to, say, Filecoin, it's like 2 gigabytes. Like, my phone still has much more gigabytes than any of the blockchain does. Right? And even with Arweave, it does expand, right? However, there's a limitation to it. And no one is actually talking about this limitation. How can we break this barrier towards Web3 data center, right? That's something that we're looking into as Chainside as well.
You know why? Because research, people don't realize this. Research is not profitable. Like people don't get this research, and I'm a big advocate. This is also why I like DeSci. Like, I think DeSci is cool. I like the concept of it. Has it been practiced right yet? I don't think so, but I love the concept of it. I just don't think that right now, research isn't profitable. Web3 is still very nichey, very buzzy, very like, let's get a pitch deck together. Let's go throw it in front of some VCs and get some money. And then maybe we'll do some research later. And it's like, I get caught up in that. I don't know.
Yeah, so I 100% agree on that educational perspective, right? There's definitely that research, and then it comes into it, and then even something about ZK itself was spoken about in the 80s. Yeah. I think we spoke about it like last time, but if we're going back to the difficulty of how the blockchain should be, as well as how to bring on-chain data. A lot of dApps would just go into these Oracle providers or data service providers, pay hefty amount of money and to utilize. But again, it goes back. It's a loop. It's a business. It's basically the cost. You run the company as a founder, right? So you got to understand how the business should be working. But definitely, it's something that storing off-chain to on-chain data, bringing these IP, even API calls, does cost, right? So as a user, I would definitely want to have these users to understand that there's a cost to it. It's not every time it's going to be cheap, it's going to be fast, it's going to be this. Blockchain is so much more different than what we should be looking into.
Yeah, it's also like, I feel like it's kind of one of those moments, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, on the one hand, we have Web 2, which has worked for many, many years, just the normal Vercel data storage that the engineers know about. Most engineers are Web 2 engineers. On the other hand, we have Web 3 data storage, which nobody really cares where you store your data, so long as your product works. The customer is not going to care about it. They don't even know the such aspects of building something. And I guess you could use it as sort of a selling point that you're completely decentralized. But I just don't feel like it hasn't been necessary for anyone to actually use it. And that's part of the reason why.
It's a security. Well, yeah. It's if we're talking about security in the data space, AWS still has much more credibility comparing to
of course,
Web3 data providers itself. So it's definitely something that we need to really consider. I think trade-off is something that is a good word when it comes to playing around with the on-chain data. Would you want to use AWS or would you want to use something ZK?
You wouldn't. The answer is you just wouldn't. You're right. I was gonna say there's one thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on too, man. Like, here's the big thing. Our CTO is big on this. So Nick worked with like EA Games. Like, the guy has worked everywhere. He's a rock star, and he's very he's very raw. He's very down to earth. He doesn't do the buzzwordy bullshit. Like, he cuts straight to the point. And there's really not that. There's a lot of programmers, but there's not really that many engineers out there, and that's the truth. There really isn't that many really quality devs that understand inside and out what the hell is actually going on. There's a lot of people that learned off, they learn how to program. They don't even went to school for it, but they don't really get it. And here's why I say that.
Yeah, they know how to follow tutorials.
Yeah,
code along.
And a lot.
I know because that's what I am.
No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. But listen, there's nothing wrong with it. There is a time and place for that. But what people don't realize, more importantly, is that a lot of technology, and this is where it starts to become an issue. And say, I want to get your opinion on something next as well. Where it becomes an issue is that a lot of the stuff, if it's not broke, this is what Nick said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. He's like, why the hell would we do this when this, like, he was already a top-notch engineer. You got to imagine a very high-level engineer coming into Web3 and already, like, to the point where he figured it out in, like, literally days. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was nothing to him to pick up Solidity, to do this, to do that. Like, it was nothing. So then, he's been in the space for years, though. And then when he started, building in the space, he's realized from his experience, and I have myself, because I was a C+ guy. I did, like, low-level programming and machining and robotic stuff in college, like stupid stuff like that. And to me, there's a lot of things that just don't make sense, because you hit it on the head. If you already have Amazon, which is a massive infrastructure, how does expense work? Let's talk about that. This is important. Expense works why? When you can mass produce something, what happens? The price comes down, right? So for somebody to start building a new data concept in Web3, the cost of that alone would be fucking astronomical. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at scale. So it's not even really, it might be a cool idea, but I think that's one of the things that stops great companies like Arweave, you know what I mean? Because it's like, what are you really going to do? Like, you built this great technology, but it takes time, like adoption. And I think that's why these Web3 companies need to start focusing more on almost pivoting also B2B and finding ways to work with these Web2 companies, because the truth is that infrastructure is already there. You're trying to reinvent the wheel, which brings me to my next question for you, Saya, which is a good one. Have we reached a point where in blockchain and Web3, we're literally building things to fit a narrative? Like, we don't even need them. Are we at the point where we're just trying to make puzzle pieces fit for no reason other than just to make them fit and raise money? Like, I feel like there's really no use case anymore. It's just a bunch of people. Like, for instance, when AI was big, it's like, how do I pair blockchain with it? If filling your car up with water, hydrogen cars, where we'd find a way to put it on the blockchain. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, have we gotten to that point? No, think about it. I know it's listen, take your time. That's a serious question. It's a serious question. Like, are we just doing shit to do it now? Because I'm struggling to see the value prop in some things. Like DeFi, I see the reason for it to be there. Like, we need that. But there's a lot of things where now I'm like, whoa, like, all right, guys, like, this already exists. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think just, honestly, in DeFi, even DeFi, they are already, all parts is ready. They just, what's going on is just, forking the protocol to just, different chain that's happening. That's it. And like, even just, then just I'm just, pretty sure just, there's no space, not no space, some places there, but they are trying to make a modular layer, just to see incentive layer, or just Uniswap created a new version, right? Light also is modular, and the app become modular. Mm-hmm. So it's going to happen, and it's not gonna going away. Or just it's getting popularity right now. So what we can create is the next step, next movement would be like modular. Obviously, everyone says modular, but this movement, we cannot stop it. So I think just next movement coming to, I mean, like we have to create thin layer, like just or just DeFi or just index, or everyone just can. It's composable and everyone can use it. And then on top of it, people can use it. I mean, just Vault itself is modular right now. Just everyone's every just hedge fund or anyone just can use it. So I think I'm not quite sure about next movement or next narrative, but it's a crosswise the like modular and the composability is everything.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think composability, like, here's the reality. Things were supposed to, for the longest time, we talk about things being modular. We talk about it, essentially interoperability and being able to go from one experience to another. And I think there's something to be said for that. But I think we also overcomplicate the process as well. One of the unique factors of Web3 is that it does bring people together. No matter the culture, no matter where you're from, no matter what it is, it brings people together. But the interesting thing it does as well is breaks down barriers, right? It allows you to adopt new technology and adopt new things. I just think that there needs to be more utility. And I don't just say, it sounds so cliche, man. I just even saying it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe. And it's like to the point, like, man, am I really just saying that? I feel like I've been saying that for years. But the reality is, it's like at the end of the day, I feel like Web3 has become like Mr. Smith in the Matrix, where like it's just replication. It's like it's not in a bad way. You know what I mean? I'm not fudding, by the way. I built my whole career, like, you know what I mean? I've been in the space 10 years of my life dedicated, working full time in it, for half of that. And it's like, it's one of those things where what I'm more interested in is, yeah, it's great. We can fork things. We can continue to build things. But how can we find ways to bring things on chain that need to be on chain? Wasim, passing that to you. Like, how, what types of things can we bring on chain that need to be here, in your opinion? And how do we facilitate that?
I think this is one of like the biggest reason for chain sites to be built.
That's why I wanted you to, I thought this would be perfect for you to talk about.
And it's definitely something that we wanted to give the freedom. I'm not going to say decentralization. I just wanted to give the freedom of people to actually just, copy and paste APIs, be on and, just paste it, done. You have your own on-chain data. And it can be done on IPs, it can be done on RWAs, like it can be done on any kind of, narrative that you want to do. It's basically right now in the space, it's what you see as availability of data is only very limited to it. And if we have mass users who wants to bring in, because these guys are not the one who's responsible to build it, first of all, we basically made it easier for people to actually just copy and paste APIs from the data source what they want to bring in, just paste it on chain side, done, deploy it, index it, relay and index it. That's it, right? And I think the ease is one thing that we wanted to give. The second is the cheapness. So we're doing it as a credit model, right? We're doing it as a subscription model that we're doing. Saya here is actually using as a subscription, like a SaaS product itself. So it's something that people would need to kind of understand, that easiness. I think a lot of people do still talk about Web 3.0. There's no user. The UI UX has to improve. The user customer journey has to be improved. I don't think it's about that. It's just just a simpleness of how to do it. And I think when it comes to chain side, and along with protocols partners that we work with, among you guys as well as Nemo, bringing IP, and I think the definition of IP needs to be stored, has to be defined among each.
This is a good one. Go ahead. Yeah.
From my perspective, IP is basically manga, anime, right? And you go to Korea and it's like K-pop IP. US, it's like movies, stuff like that. But it's how much you work with these IP providers, because you need to understand from Web3 founders, or whether you're young or old, it's how does this corporate who owns the IP actually monetize, right? So you have to speak to these guys. When you're speaking to these guys, it's all about how much are you going to make revenue, right? And what kind of IP rights are you able to do it? Because again, I've worked in these, IP in the past, utilizing, as Chainsight, even one of the finger, like going like that, you need to get approvals from the management.
Yeah, no, it's like
I
that.
like
People
how
don't
your
really...
figure just got censored by the camera.
Yeah.
From the publisher, from the organization, from board members, every aspect is needed. But I think
that's a problem with blockchain too, though. See, most people don't realize real organizations, like there is so many things that you need to go through just to get a response to something. Like I worked in corporate most of my career outside of this, and just to get anything done, the bureaucracy, it's horrible. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a whole nother conversation. I think corporations have gotten overly bureaucratic. I think it is a whole bunch of political bullshit nonsense. And this is why I also have my feelings about the startup world, but I do prefer being able to run lean. I do prefer the ability to be able to act on something. Like I always tell all of our guys when we have our meetings, like the number one thing I tell them, and this is when it comes down to, this is a whole nother conversation that we can get into, but culture, like IP, especially related to IP, culture is absolutely, it's crucial. In fact, I think it's the most important thing of a business. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I'm going to say. And all my experience. And the reason why is Sleazy. Have you ever once, and this is, mind you, we have about 20 some people. Do I micromanage you? Do I call you about anything? Do I ask you, tell you I need this all day 24/7 and clock you and what are you doing and when you're doing it?
Of course you're not doing anything of the kind.
Yeah,
Why would I say that?
Say the truth.
Yes,
Say the truth, Sleazy.
that's
answer that.
Hold on, Sleazy. Remember the NDA you signed.
I got you.
Okay. Look, Mr. Noodle. While he's above me, I'm above you. So.
Sorry.
So genuinely, Sleazy.
Yeah, that's actually what we talked about at the beginning. I just book Chris for whenever I need him to show up, and he just show up and like, hey, we're doing this. Okay, sure.
And there's an important reason why that is. And this is why Web3 is being held back as well. So the number one thing that people forgot how to do, I swear to fucking, it's crazy. People forgot how to be fucking people. They forgot how to interact with other humans. They forgot what it's like to just simply have normal conversations and build camaraderie and an environment that you want to be in, right? So
that's not very professional of you.
It's the truth.
Web2 professional type, in a
listen,
suit.
It needs to be said. And the truth is when we started building our team, I told the guys the number one thing that was important to me was everybody having the freedom. And this is because of my frustrations, right? So I reached the top. I was the head of HR for a larger company, a Fortune company. And it was something that was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Had to deal with thousands of people, managing people across states. I mean, it was an absolute nightmare. And don't get me wrong, it was cool. Like you make it there and you're like, oh, this is great. I got this big job, getting paid a lot of money. But then when you start to work with other C-suite level and larger funding companies, brick and mortar companies are also a whole nother world than tech companies, like radically different. There's so many, compliances and risk and departments that need to be there. They're there for a reason. That doesn't exist in Web3. But that structure, it doesn't mean that it's not important. But the number one thing that I learned is that just like I hate to say this, no pun intended, but depending on how you feel about it, it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. The current state of politics, even in the US, where you have Trump or you have Elon, this is a big hot topic, but they're kind of just ripping shit apart and saying this doesn't need to be here, this doesn't need to be here. And the reality is sometimes, yes, sometimes the reality is you need that sometimes. So what I do with my guys is I say, listen, you shouldn't, I'm going to say this for all you guys out there that are founders, anybody listening, don't hire people or don't bring on people you don't trust just because you feel like you need to fill a role. Like
you know how hiring works in Web2 for big companies. Like Stage 1, they interview you, then they pass you on to stage 2. On stage 2, they have no idea who you are because they don't communicate with each other.
Like people all the time, like they're like, why is Chris, Hustle Hack Chris, whatever, why are you answering tickets in Discord? And I'm like, because I want to. It's like I want to talk. They're like, bro, you have like 10 other people to do that. And I'm like, it doesn't, I want to. Like, you need to be a part of the user experience. Yes, you need to. Well, yeah, you need to be a part of the experience, right? Like each one of these guys, my favorite thing about doing this is I never have to worry about what's going on with marketing. I've seen this go wrong with other companies. I'm not going to say no names because I've worked, they're big companies in Web3 that I've worked for. And like the number one thing that I've seen in this space is like, oh, you got to run this by this person, or you got to do this with this person, or they're constantly micromanaging. I've seen leaders that micromanage. You need to find people, and this is your goal as a leader. Like good leaders are even better followers. Good leaders are great listeners. They put other people around them, right? And they figure out how to empower the people around them. So when I found out that Sleazy originally was like a crazy content creator, he loved my goal was how can I put him in the driver's seat to where he shines and he just go off to the races, bro. Go nuts. Because the number one thing is passion. If you don't have passion and drive, like you can't teach that. You that's the only thing you can't replicate is passion. So like when Kevin's doing operations, I never worry about what our COO's doing. I never worry if the books are balanced, what's going on with Patty. I never worry if the tech or what's going on with tech. Well, sometimes with tech,
well, that's unavoidable, honestly.
That's unavoidable. Yeah. But I never worry. Like Nick is driving as a CTO. It's like he owns that shit. When Charlie and all them are doing something, it's a new product launch or something. Don't get me wrong. Things like that, the team needs to be involved because there's so many different factors that go into that. But my whole point is that when you empower people, and this is what we have to do more in Web3, when you empower people, then at the end of the day, you know, they'll shine. Like trust is a big deal. And I hate to say this because this is like a touchy subject. But anonymity, I am a big believer in. I do believe that there should be that, right? But you can't deny that it's also been something that has held back the industry. Because a lot of people are like, hey, listen, who am I talking to? What's going on? Like, I've seen that error. And listen, guys,
right?
Yes, when you're dealing with millions of dollars, think about it. When you're dealing with millions of dollars, pardon my language, but who the fuck is going to sit there and be like, yeah, here's your valuation's 100 million. We're going to buy your token in 5 million. Here's some money. Have a nice day.
It has happened in the past, but luckily it's been moving away from
21. And that's why this whole industry is messed up now, because all these guys were just putting up a 5-page pitch deck and just everybody was just issuing checks. And the VCs in this space weren't that experienced. Like, have you ever talked to like I go to all the conventions. Have you ever talked to a VC in this space? Watch, we're never going to get, we're in the middle of raising. So they're going to be like, well, now you're not getting shit. But like the truth.
I definitely, understand that portion.
Talk about that, Watson.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure, my marketing Sam is, watching this, and I give her like all the credits, for setting up all this and believe in her. But definitely it's, going back, the perspective of founders, how to manage. I think we're all done with the IP and on chain, so fuck it.
Yeah. We're ready. This is the Degen part of the conversation. Yeah. This is where you just fucking let it fly.
There's a saying, you cannot have 2 leaders in the same room. Well, I think that's a lie. You can't have 2 leaders. You cannot have 2 micromanagers.
You can't have people with fucking egos. You can't have you can't have people that don't know how to get outside of themselves. Like, I have ADHD. It's fucking difficult to work with me some days because I'm all over. Like, I'm trying to do this, and get it all done. And that's why I have some of the guys that I have to ground me. And they're like, all right, Chris, let's do this one and do this one. I'm trying to get it all done at once. And like, that's like, you know how that goes. But go ahead, Wasim.
Yeah, I mean, I know Seiya how he works as well, right? Because I've known him for a couple of years, from his current project to previous project, and probably babysit him since old days. But yeah, I mean, founders like him, founders like you, all depends, right? You've got different managing styles. similar to you, been in the space for 10 years, looking into all the projects who have failed and succeeded.
We're old, bro. We're old now, bro.
Yeah, true. I mean, you know, NASA mentioned about the comet that's going to be hitting, you know, the Earth. What was the possibility? That was like 2.1%, 3%.
Yeah, I think it's 3.4. Yeah,
3.4%. Right? That's much higher chance possibilities of actually, if you compare to startup being $1 billion project.
Yes, people don't realize that. Like crypto, guys, 90% of this shit is going to zero, and most people lose. Like in meme coins, when you see people pushing the casino and all that stuff that just happened recently with Thread Guy and all that, like, you know, bro, a lot of people don't realize, man, when you're grinding on this, like, you have to really understand what's going on, and you have to really be on your P's and Q's. And all those people that look like it's just nonchalant and it's just very like laid back, there's usually a whole operation going on. Like virtuals blew up and people were like, oh, it came out of nowhere. No, these organizations have been building for some time, man. There's people behind the scenes that have been grinding. Like just because AI wasn't a narrative, they were just waiting for their moment. And that's what a lot of people, if you can hold on, that's what most successful, that's how all these unicorns develop. They're people that were just building and building, waiting for their moment, and their moment just finally came. That, I mean, like half the battle of being successful at anything is just consistency. It's law of averages. The more shots you take, the more shots you make. Saya, I wanted to get
that's actually, I feel like it's our flaw, but also our like superpower. Like we do in Web3 a lot of useless shit. Shit that nobody needs. But so it's a flaw because like
eventually somebody will need it.
but also when there is something useful to be done, a lot of people are going to jump on the wagon and actually like take it into the Web3. Like
they do. We do.
Like, you know,
we do.
Metaverse is now a Web3 concept pretty much, because only Web3 does Metaverse. Well, there's Facebook, I guess.
But it used to not be though. It never was a Web3 thing, but now it is.
But now because like all the Metaverse projects are in Web3 essentially, because Web2 just doesn't bother with it, or they just fail completely.
A buzzword. That's why it's a buzzword.
Yeah. And now we are about to like swallow AI into us, like we swallowed metaverses. So it's our flaw, but it's also our superpower to actually do a lot of stuff, and something eventually works.
It is. And you know what it is? That's the one thing. It's very much like a nation. It is. And I think that people will look back on this, sociologists, people will study this, and it is very much like its own nation. It is. Decentralization and the idea of this global society, it already exists. It's here. It looks fragmented, and in some ways, technologically, it is. But it's amazing because when something goes wrong in the space, what happens? Everybody's on crypto Twitter, and everybody is posting. It don't matter who you are, what language you speak. It's in everybody's talking about it. So, like, one thing I wanted to ask you, Sarah, your journey in Web3, like, what the hell got you involved in this? Like, what made you pick such a crazy? I want to go through everyone's like, so what the hell made you jump into this psychotic industry that we can't get out of?
Yeah, it was a VC.
No, I was. But before that, I was in India. Actually, I graduated from India in Pune University, and then at the time, awesome. Then like that time, just why just I got into crypto was I couldn't trust the centralized like system or just bank or anything. Just because one big incident happened when I was in India, demonetization. It was happened like just 4 days, 4 hours. Before the day before, just 4 hours, like Modi announced tomorrow you cannot use you just 1,000 rupee and 500 rupee. This is the highest dominator. I mean, just in India.
Yeah.
50% people didn't have the bank account, and there was no mobile payment. It was in 2018 or 17. There was no bank. And anything payment was cash payment. And Prime Minister Modi announced that, and then 4 hours after, 4 hours later, the currency didn't work, and everyone. It was very bad, big mistake. I mean, just because like black money was in form of the gold or blockchain was anywhere, no cash, and 0.4% or something was cash, and then they did it, and immediately it was 4 hours before the day, and it was that made me feel like centralized governance also just make a mistake. And I was trusting centralized governance or just government or anything, just like Bank of Japan I trusted, but they failed it actually. Like quantitative, qualitative, just easing they did it for just targeting 2% inflation rate. They failed it. Now just because of the U.S. monetary system, like Japanese inflation rate, I guess 2% or something. Now, but they didn't aim it. So that's why just joining like a crypto. I mean, just there's a neutral credibility, right? No one, we don't need to trust anyone, but trust the decentralization system.
Yeah.
That in this space, and then it's that's core.
I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was going to ask you a question that fascinated me. You made me think about one important thing. Once again, like it all depends on what people think that like everyone's experience at least what I've learned through this whole experience. Yes, we bleed the same, we cry the same, we all, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, we all feel similar emotions. And I think that's important. I think that's what unites us. But the unique thing is people don't realize how radically different it is all around the world and the things that people go through. I also think that's the one unique thing about, Web3 in general. Once again, I hate that term. I can't wait till we can move past it. But the one thing that's interesting about the culture, now I don't know about you, but when I say Web3, I'm talking about like the culture at the end of the day, right? So like when I say like anything that has to do with Web3 or buzzwordy, to me, that's what defines the culture because it is a thing. Like crypto Twitter is a thing. Like, you know what I mean? It is its own echo chamber, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's also something that's very real. And I think that these organizations, what it's done for even younger generations, like I've seen a lot of newer generations up and coming that are, internet natives that have been able to create identities and brands and do so many new stuff and find new ways to monetize because social media was great, right? But for the longest time, the problem with social media, and this is like when you're good at pattern recognition, especially as a founder, I think like the best skill that a founder can have, in my opinion, like the best skill that a founder can have is pattern recognition. Because when you could start to see patterns, for example, social media, it was inevitable, right? The social media, it was a free platform. If something is free, then you're the object, right? You're the thing that they're making money off of. And at the end of the day, when they started to gather all these users by offering these free tools and people started utilizing these tools, one thing that was difficult for a lot of people, and I know TikTok creators and all that, was monetization, right? People talk about, the money that they make. It's only people that really have like significant followings and are really doing it on a larger level that make the type of money that people see that at least the type of money where you can live off of. And I think the interesting thing that NFTs, and this is where we have to get back to, right? It's getting to a point where it solves a problem. And I think that when we're able to do that, like that's why people initially jumped in. They saw the opportunity where, hey, I built a brand online. I built this whole entire experience, but this gives me the opportunity to monetize that, whether you have your own token, but I think personally, it's not a bad thing. It was inevitable. The technology failed. And that's just the truth. And I'm not saying it failed. The philosophy is good. The foundation is laid. But it taught us that there's still a lot more room to grow. For example, like we love the idea of what NFTs can represent. We love the idea of what all these things represent. But the fact of the matter is the technology just wasn't ready yet. So what ended up happening is we just got a bunch of early adopters. And now what happens when you get early adopters, what are early adopters? They tend to be really intelligent people, academic people, scammers. That's just the truth. They go hand in hand. And then as the new people come in, they try to PvP that. So I think when we can find ways, for example, it makes sense to monetize IP. It makes sense to monetize your brand. So I think in the future, and I'm almost positive of this, I would put anything on the line, that the only thing that's going to be left standing when the smoke clears are companies that were able to hone in on finding their own identity in their brand and their IP. I think representation, your representation, your culture of your company, you of your company. And we have to get back to that. Like people in Web3 don't do that as much, right? We leave that to the content creators. We find somebody that can do that for us. And I think it's our job to go out there as teams, and that's what companies don't do. And that's our superpower. All of us. Like we can have our whole company on here on a meeting and people are like, yo, they can see the dynamic that we all have. They can see how you're moving towards something. And I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, that is your superpower, man, that you're able to do. Obviously being efficient, being able to work with groups. It's like, it's supposed to be decentralized, but it's ironic how few Web3 companies operate in a decentralized manner. Like they don't.
We might want to skip the shit talk we usually do between each other. But yeah, other than that,
no, I love that part. That part I love. But like, you know, once again, you know, having people to vote in your community. Web3 gaming for us, we're building games, right? So we're building games, we're building Wanted. The map is bigger than 4. It's 6 kilometers. It's a really cool game. It's just amazing experience. We love it. It's been taking us, you know, some time now because we're putting a lot of time into it. We still got a little ways to go, but we're excited about, you know, what it can do. And my whole point of that is just like when you look at something like that, the number one thing that I'm proud of with that is that at every single road, we got the community involved, right? Your community, it doesn't mean that you have 10,000 millions of billions of people. Like it took us a long time to like our Discord's like almost 10,000 now. I forgot what it took us a long time, and that minus the bots. Like you have to take all that into consideration too. But it took a long time to get to that point where, you know, you can go to your community and say, hey, what are your opinions on this? And that matters. And people don't realize how much it matters. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that will FUD. There's a bunch of people that will do bad. But when you do good, this is the weird thing about nature. I'm not saying believe in karma, whatever it is. But when you, law of attraction, that's really what it is. When you do good, it comes back to you. So when people in the community, go ahead, yo, Wasim, like I know you know what I'm talking about. Man.
Yeah, 100% agree on that. You know, whatever you do, whatever you act, it just comes back to you. You may not see it, but it comes back to you anytime, anyhow. So I agree.
It does. It does. And a lot of people don't realize, like, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing. You know, we're building something. It is basically like it's not crowdfunding for me because we didn't raise no money on it, but you're doing something for the community, right? Like you're doing something to where you're like, hey, I want to build this. It's basically the idea of open source technology. And this is why I find blockchain really funny and weird in some ways when I look back on it now, like in hindsight, in retrospect, because it's like, okay, you have open source, like you have databases, like the cloud in a way is kind of decentralization if you really look at it that way, which is another conversation. It's just obviously it's not the same type of technology, you know, given the security implications and everything like that. But there are a lot of ways where it's very similar. So I think for me personally, those are going to be the things that's going to move the space forward. It's those little things, right? Working with other organizations, building out your IP. I'm not sure about you guys, if there's any other thing.
Speaking of IP, my first, meeting, well, not meeting, but my first acquaintance with IP was when, I don't know if anyone remembers those old jokes, when if you download a movie without actually buying it, like illegally, like from a from a pirating website. Yeah, pretty much.
BitTorrent, maybe. Back when I was young, it was Pirate Bay and BitTorrent and everything. That's what everybody did.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so it would be the joke that the police would come to your house and check if you really downloaded it from Pirate Bay or whatever other pirating website and arrest you if they find anything. Like it went from this to people pirating it all the time, and nobody could do anything about it. Nobody could do anything about Pirate Bay because even when the original creator was arrested, someone else just mirrored it, and it was back up in a few hours after this. So it really did not matter because it was just so decentralized. Nobody could do anything about it. And now what they did is, first it was of course Netflix. It said, pay us this little price and you can have everything. You don't have to bother downloading anything. And people liked it. That was kind of like the compromise.
You know who else is doing that? You know who else is doing that? And this is why they're winning. Well, I know we're coming close for you guys. I know it's late for you guys, so I won't keep you going too long. But one company that is crushing it at this, and you got to give them credit, Luca Netz knows exactly what he's doing with Pudgy. This is so designed. For those that don't know, he was already an 8-figure e-commerce guy. Like, he came into this already rich. A lot of people don't know that. He already had money. It wasn't just Web3 money. He built online stores and Shopify and all that other type of stuff. So the crazy thing is what you just said is like the key. It is the future. So if you can't beat them, join them, right? If you work with all these Web 2 companies and you're finding ways to go reach out to these people that have IP, all these companies, you should be looking to work with people that have IP. Because what do you have? You have an audience. Is that like, that's a no-brainer, but you would think that people would put that together. But it seems like we get more caught up in the hamster wheel buzzwordy stuff than the stuff that's common sense. And the reality is people in Web3 now, like people in this space now, I think they crave common sense again. I think people are over the flashiness. They're over technicalities. They're just like, bro, just tell me what the hell it means and what does it mean for me? Like, I just like, what do I do? What is this shit? Like, you know what I mean? And why should I use it? And I think at the end of the day, like I look at the type of questions in Discord, I think of all the types of things that people are asking me all day. And it's like, you know, they're simply asking like, you know, okay, why should I use this? Who, what, when, where, and why? And when we can do that effectively, that's when I think, guys, we're here. I don't think mass adoption's here yet. I tell people when it's boring as shit, when it's super boring to the point where it just feels dead, but there's money. So like when you look at the charts, when you look at the market and you're seeing billions of dollars in it, but it's dead as shit, that's how you know it's here. Because at the end of the day, it's no different than when you go to the bank. Like people are just like, oh, well, here's another day in the neighborhood. And so this is the time to have fun. This is the time to lock in and learn and grow. I don't have anything. I don't know about you guys. I know you guys, these guys over here, it's getting late for them over on the other side of the globe. But
it's always good to be, you know, on this Posty Studio YouTube Live with Hustle Hat, you know, Sleazy Noodle here. So I really love, you know, talking to them. You know, the topic just, you know, jumps in and jumps out all the time. And
you know me, I'm all over.
Yeah, that's all about this, you know. And I guess, you know,
night.
Oh yeah, we could just, you know, have beer, just, you know, beer in a YouTube Live.
Eat Denver. Listen, if I am able to make it, if I'm able to make it, because I'm planning on it. I'm supposed
if you don't make it, I'm gonna drag you out.
I know. I'm supposed to be a speaker. Yo, the crazy thing is I'm supposed to be one of the speakers there. So I'm like, man, yeah, I'm supposed to speak there.
He's about to get stage fright.
No, you know me.
Not him, definitely.
It's not that. My son's 7th birthday is February 26th. So we were supposed to. I know, like right around the corner. I wanted to take him somewhere that might run into it. So I was like, but the 20, I'm trying to make it for the Friday and then leave Sunday morning. I will let you know. You have my number almost. Yeah. Like, you know, just hit me up. I got you. Sure. Listen, I love you guys. Sayo, do you have any final closing thoughts before I take us out of here?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just, you know, it was a really great time because like we talked a lot, right? Just, you know, like a lot of different topic and just, you know, other than Steve or anything, just, you know, right now, just, you know, we are too much focusing on just, you know, tasks and all the stuff for ACS and just a lot of tasks. But, you know, it's better to just talk about, you know, different topic and just especially future of DeFi, future of the, you know, future of the blockchain or anything. Just, you know, that was
what's Nemo got going? What do you guys got? Yeah, tell us a little bit about before we go out about what you're doing at Nemo, and I think people should know about that.
Nemo, like, yeah, next time just say, I mean, yeah, Nemo, like, you know, we are providing LSD and then it's Easter, and then ACS campaigns coming, and like you can get a lot of rewards and all the stuff, and yeah, please join in Discord or just check out Twitter. That's enough.
And Saya is cool as hell, guys. Listen, Nemo is cool. I think they're a great group of guys. Go check out what they're doing, man. They got some pretty cool stuff in it. They're veterans in the space. These guys have been doing it a long time. Guys, there's a lot of amazing builders out here that have been here a long time, and they've been in other projects, and everybody's just out here grinding together trying to make it. So show some love to these communities and these people. We're trying to feed our kids just like you, baby. That being said, I love each and every one of you guys. It's always an absolute pleasure and an honor to all almost 200 people that tuned in today. You guys are amazing. We love you. Tune in again. We're doing it like 5 days a week at this point, man. We're rocking and rolling. Yep. I know it's crazy. I don't even know. I have my brain. I have no life. I'm gonna die. After this, I'm gonna crash. But
we go again tonight.
And we go again tonight.
Yeah.
So we have over at Posse, just to catch everybody up really fast. We have movie nights on Sunday. We're going to be doing another movie this night on Sunday, which is going to be great. Basically like group streaming. It's really cool. Next, we're going to be doing a game night tonight, as well as some esport tournaments. So if you guys want to jump in the Discord, more than happy to have you. Whatever game of choice we'll vote on. It could be Fortnite, it could be RPGs, it could be anything, World of Warcraft, whatever your imagination can do. We just want to have some fun and do some pretty cool stuff. The ACS campaign on the marketplace. Obviously, you have one of the flagship marketplaces on Sonium. You know, it's been awesome building there. If you guys want to go trade some stuff, head on over there, buying any NFTs and all that stuff. Not financial advice, do your own research, but the ACS campaign is going, which is awesome. That's like going to be for 10 seasons. So it's like every 10 days for 100 days. And there's a ton of thousands in rewards and Astar. You know, it's going to be pretty cool. So for all you guys that are interested, tune in. The game is, we have a lot of people coming in. We did some public and alpha testing already publicly. Everybody keeps telling us, don't worry, the game is coming. All the goodies are coming. It's been fun. Thank you for those that tuned in, those that tested with us, those that have been having a blast with us. But the biggest thing we're excited about, everyone knows, like, our biggest thing has been the AI engine. Building this launchpad has been awesome. And this is what we're most excited about at this point, being able to tie IP into these agents, being able to essentially have people not only monetize their NFTs and their tokens, but essentially being able to build like their own brand and business around it, right? So if other people are using it, they're getting paid, all the types of cool stuff that's going on out there. Coming soon, we have a whole new UI. It's going to be V2 for those that use the site. So there is a couple little buggy things we're working on right now. So stay tuned. Pretty excited for that. But other than that, you guys are amazing. Until next time, peace.